All right, Miguel, welcome back to the podcast. One more episode.
Hello, Alejandro. Yes, welcome back. I'm very excited to keep learning about nutrition. I think we got a great overview of what's a healthy nutrition, and I think it's important if we get a bit more into detail for those that are interested and they have some more questions and they would like to get a bit more deep into this topic, such an important and interesting topic.
Yeah, I feel like we should be learning about this stuff in school. It's literally health, right? So if we cannot take care of ourselves, like this is one of the main things we should do in life. So yeah, we're gonna go over, yes, questions pretty much a little bit more in detail when it comes to, carbohydrate consumption, how much protein do I need, how many calories is it good or bad, like again, going a little bit more in depth from the last episode that we did. So I'm open, ready for your questions.
Okay, so in the last episode, I understood that if I want to lose weight, no, I have to go I have to consume less calories than what I burn, no? So I have to eat less amount of food than what I burn. That's how I will lose weight, no? If I want to gain muscle, I will have to eat more than what I consume, no? If I'm not grown. And my question is, no, we talk that we should eat a little bit of everything: carbs, protein, fats, vegetables, fruits, not the more like different colors, the more diverse everything, the better for our health, But I'm a bit confused, like how do I know if I'm eating the right amount of carbs, if I'm eating the right amount of protein, if I'm eating the right amount of vegetables, like how should I know? Let's put like a person that does sport 3-4 times a week, like 1 hour, 45 minutes, nothing crazy, like an average person, no? How does he or she know that she's eating what she should, for a healthy and balanced diet?
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so this is going to depend on the context. Okay, as you said. What I mentioned on the other episode is like, yeah, to lose weight or to gain weight, you need to meet these certain things, okay, which is going to be a calorie deficit or a calorie surplus. Okay. Now, this is just from a weight standpoint. So, if you go with that equation, okay, you can consume I remember I posted a video on Instagram that I got some comments and like, how the heck does this work? It's like, okay, if Miguel, again, go back to Miguel, right? The 2000 calories. If Miguel consumes 1500 calories worth of bacon, only bacon, he's gonna lose weight, right? And people were like, how the heck does that happen? If it's only bacon, that's crap, that's like junk food. Yeah, but you're not reaching the calories that you need to maintain your weight. Now, do I recommend that? No, because you're gonna end up in the hospital, probably, right? You have to think that like, okay, even though you're losing weight, but you're just consuming fat. You see, you're consuming the nutrients that you're getting is very, it's just oils and fat and things that can definitely block your arteries, in the long run. So you can have a heart attack in the future, you see? It raises your cholesterol level. So from a health standpoint, not recommended. Absolutely not. From body composition standpoint, I was just trying to show, that like, look, even eating junk food, crap food, if you're able to eat less calories than what you need to maintain your weight, you can still lose weight. Okay. Now, if we go for my average person, okay, that trains a few times a week and wants to be healthy, definitely not only bacon. Okay. We should be consuming what we normally do is we distribute the amount of calories, okay, through the different macronutrients. So fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, okay? What we normally recommend is like, okay, depending on what you do, but you want at least like 30% of fat. Of all the total calories, 30% should be coming from fat, okay? You can do maybe a 25 to another 30 from protein, and then the rest is going to be carbohydrates, okay? To meet the 100% of the total calories that you need, okay? Now, this is from a health standpoint. Okay, so when you mention, okay, what if I want to gain muscle? Well, then the percentage of protein, it will need to be a little bit higher. You see? So maybe you put the fat down. So instead of 30%, it's 25. And then you bump up the protein 5%. Okay. So you play with those. you play with the distribution of the macronutrients, okay, for the total calorie amount that you need per day. Let's put ourselves as an example. Okay, now I'm going to a little bit of a higher performance athletes, okay, because I'm sure there is some people here watching that are tennis players. If you're a tennis player, okay, we use carbohydrates as an energy source. Okay, why? Because tennis is done in a very intense pace. You see, we sprint everywhere, we run really fast, there is not a lot of break in between points. So what you want to do is you want to consume a lot of carbohydrates. So for us, we literally tend to reach 60% of our total calories through carbohydrates. Okay, and then we manage the other 40 through proteins and fats. You see? So it will all depend in many things, right? One is the sport that you play. Let's say a marathoner, right? Somebody that you're preparing actually marathons, Miguel. So this is perfect because for your sport now, for marathons, okay, we don't need carbohydrates that much. Why? Because it's a lower intensity. It's very long duration, but the intensity is lower. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to hold it for 3.5 hours. You see that the marathon is going to take 3.5, 4 hours. So you rely a little bit more on fat as an energy source instead of carbohydrates. So probably you right now, the distribution will be like, okay, carbohydrates can be at 50%, fat can go up even to like maybe 35, and then protein the rest. You see? So yeah, it's gonna depend on the sport. It's gonna depend also on the person, right? Sedentary or athlete. Okay. But yeah, to be healthy, distribute those micronutrients. Make sure proteins is decently high. I would I would say 25% or up. Um, Fats, there should be also like a minimum of 20%, I would say, just because as we talked on the other episode, we need fat for hormonal health, brain function, and all that. And then the rest, you do carbohydrates if you like carbohydrates better. Okay. And then, of course, don't forget about vitamins and minerals. Although they don't provide a lot of calories, but the nutrients that they provide, they're necessary for us, as we touched on the other day.
Yeah, important something that you say, like we are talking about health standpoint, no? Because like as you say, you could be eating bacon or just plates of pasta, but you eat less than what you burn, and you are losing weight, no? But this is something that yes, it can happen that you lose weight, maybe that's your goal, but not in a healthy way. And here we are talking about a healthy way and something that you can do for the rest of your life. Is we want you to understand what's a healthier lifestyle, so it becomes an identity for you. I'm a healthy man. I do sports and I eat healthy, and this helps me in the long term, so I understand how it works, what do I have to eat and what not. No, so I think it's very interesting for people to start getting into this a bit more deeper. The other day we talked about something that you say, like if you like more fats, I think it's important you can eat more fats, as long as the other parts are balanced. You don't forget about the vegetables. You don't forget about the fruits. You don't forget about the carbs. No, if I like, for example, more salmon because it has fats, I like it, and I like also a lot to eat nuts. I like to eat almonds, cashews. I'm allowed to eat more dish, because we also say that diet should be something that we enjoy, no, something that we enjoy, so we can last longer. What do you think about this?
It's awesome, man, because people think that, like consuming fat is gonna make you fat, right? And they associate it like that. And it's not like that. As we just talked about, the distribution of macronutrients, okay? So if you prefer, this is actually a personal preference. Many people, and one of my clients, in fact, she told me like, look, I love fat. Okay, fat products, nuts. I like butters. I like stuff of this kind, oils. Okay, good. So I know that when I have to make her plan, nutrition plan, I know I need to include more fats than probably for somebody else because that's what she likes. Okay, somebody else will be like, oh no, I love carbohydrates. I love to consume pasta. I love to consume oatmeal. I love potatoes. Okay, good. So now I can the distribution of those percentages is going to be a little bit more on carbohydrates. So if you're a person that likes fats, you can increase distribution. Okay. So it's all about it. You play with those. Again, make sure protein is at least 25% of your total daily calories. Okay. Fats, I wouldn't go lower than 20 from a health standpoint. okay? But if you prefer to eat 35% of fat because you like fat, and then you just have to lower the carbohydrates, go ahead. Because the total amount of calories is going to be the same, you see? Now, the problem with fat is that unfortunately, it provides more calories per gram. So as we talked in the other call, 1 gram of fat provides 9 kilocalories, and one gram of carbohydrates provides 4. What does this mean? For less grams of fat, you're gonna be consuming more calories. You see? So what happens is that people, it's very hard for them to stop eating because they're like, shoot, actually, I didn't eat a lot of food, but I'm consuming a lot of calories. Okay. On the other hand, with carbohydrates, you can consume a lot of food volume-wise, okay, and you feel that you're consuming a lot of food, but since it's only providing 4 kilocalories per gram, then you can eat more volume. You see? So that's kind of like the main thing to keep in mind. Is like, fine, if you prefer fat consumption over carbohydrates, go ahead. But just be aware that you're probably gonna be hungrier in a way because you need to consume less volume of food. Okay. So again, it all comes down to personal preference.
Interesting, no? And I think that some people can think, okay, 25% of your amount of calories has to come from a protein, you know, and they can be like, how can I measure this? No, it can be very difficult. It doesn't have to be exactly 25, you know, it's for you to start being more aware of the amount of protein and amount of carbs that you eat. When you buy a product, you can look at the nutrition label, and there it says the amount of calories per 100 grams, the amount of carbs, also the ingredients. I think it's very important you start looking at both just to understand, not to get very picky and every time tracking everything you do, but for you to have a better knowledge of what you're eating. And when you see the nutrition label as well, I think it's very important you look at the amount of ingredients it has. Sometimes the more ingredients it has, because they are making this processed food, that they put things to make it taste better because they are doing adaptations. So it's important that the less ingredients, sometimes the better, the more natural, the less things, and the healthier for yourself, you know, and then you can see the nutrition level and understand the amount of things you are eating.
I agree. I mean, we have a problem nowadays is because a lot of food is made in the lab. Okay. And it's funny because we've been associating for a long time, that like anything that is processed is gonna kill you, And we've been discovering that actually it's not that way, but it has some problems with it. Okay. So we've found a way to make tasty food in the lab kind of not that bad for your health. Okay, in the sense of like it's safe. Okay. What happens is that the problem with the processed foods, is that they're very tasty, as you said. Okay, so you get a donut. Man, you get a donut, that's freaking paradise. And you start eating that, oh my God, it melts in your mouth, and you're like, oh my God, it's like an orgasm, bro. Food or foodgasm, you know how it's called. So what happens is that it's very hard for people to stop eating those. So it's very easy for us to overconsume them, you see? And that's the main problem with processed foods. It's like, it's not necessarily that it's gonna kill you if you eat something, but when it comes to losing weight, people have a really hard time because they overconsume this stuff because it's freaking tasty, man. Like we love it. It's made for the brain to love it. Um, so that's the main problem. Yeah, as you said, like I would also agree with, just try to get natural foods, like they come from nature. Why? Because they're gonna have actual flavors from nature. It's not artificial flavors made in the lab. It's actually the flavor of the food itself, and you're gonna start learning what you like, what you don't like, and yeah, I mean, again, you're not gonna be part of this, overconsumption of food if you keep it everything like natural, and more less ingredients, right? Like for sure, I agree with that. But yeah, at the same time, we should, if you like, to eat your chocolate sometimes and it's whatever, it has like 20 ingredients in the thing, is because as we're talking about, it's processed food. So they try to put a little bit more flavor, artificial. They put a little bit more of the smell, the aroma in it, to make it stronger, to make it more appealing. They put a little bit more color to be brighter, and you're like, oh my God, it catches your attention. But if you truly have knowledge about this and you're like, oh shit, they're doing this, so I overconsume it, you see? But I know what I need. I know why I'm eating this, and it's for my mental health. I need these 2 pieces of chocolate twice a week because it makes me happy. Dude, it's fine if you have 20 ingredients. Go ahead and eat it, you see? Because if you don't overconsume it, it won't necessarily affect you that bad, you see? And if it helps you with mental health and you're like, oh my God, yeah, this is what I was, waiting for my day, then go ahead, I'm not against it. But as you said, nutrition labels are key. This is how you're gonna learn how to, how many calories you're consuming in total, how much protein, how much fat, and how much carbohydrates. And then from there, you're gonna be able to elaborate this distribution depending on personal preferences. But as you said, how you learn it is by looking at the nutrition labels, knowing the serving size that it's put there, knowing how much you're consuming for every food, and then you go do your math.
Very good point. And as we said the other time, if most of the things you are doing right, if one like 20%, 15% of the time you are not eating the healthiest thing, like it's good for your health. Every day I eat 2 pieces of chocolate because I feel good. I think moderation. The rest of the things I eat, they are good, and I enjoy the chocolate because it gives me like, I don't know, the taste of chocolate is really good. I feel like I'm eating something wrong, but I like it, to finish my food, I feel happier, you know. However, if I don't let myself eat this chocolate, maybe one day on Sunday, I buy 5 chocolate bars and I eat all of them because I was not letting myself eat the chocolate. No? So I think it's very important to start understanding yourself and letting yourself try this thing. So very good recommendations. Looking forward to the next question. Like, imagine a person that does 3 4 times a week sports. Like, what should this person eat after she trains? Does she have to eat something different than, for example, the breakfast if I didn't train before? What should be the difference?
Yeah, so again, as I answered the first question, this is gonna come down to what you do. Okay, so let's say you take somebody that for the sport is very, I guess, aggressive on the muscles. Okay, like it breaks a lot of muscle tissue. So, uh, like just goes to the gym, start lifting weights. That's an example. Or sprinting. Okay, that is very, yeah, it's very hard on the muscles. Stuff of this kind that is a little bit, with a load, external load, plus, maybe impact, high intensity. All this stuff is going to require more protein than a sport that is maybe a little bit of a lower intensity and longer duration. Okay. So you need to consider like what's the sport, what are you doing in the sport, and how you can replenish what you're doing in the sport. Okay. So I'm gonna put 2 examples. Okay. For us, tennis players, we play a match. Okay. What we need to consume later is, first of all, water and salts, just because it's normally played outdoors and we sweat a lot. Okay. This is from an hydration standpoint. Okay, that's key. Now for food, carbohydrates. Why? Because as we talked, carbohydrates is our main energy source for tennis players by the nature of the sport. So carbohydrates should be pretty high. And then protein. Why? Because we've been breaking a lot of muscle tissue just because of, running around, sprinting, hitting the ball. Okay. So we need to consume those two. Okay. Um, Another example, let's put somebody that does, yeah, like long run. Let's put an example, like you and me, right? Me as a tennis player and you right now as a marathoner, since you're preparing for it, okay? What should you eat? So for you, same thing, water and salts, okay, for hydration purposes. And then when it comes to nutritional standpoint, I would do maybe higher in fat, just because again, the nature of the sport, you need to rely a little bit more on fat as an energy source. Protein, just because usually marathoners, they burn a lot of calories and they easily go in a calorie deficit. What happens when you're in a calorie deficit is that you start consuming protein from your own muscles to be able to generate energy. Okay, so it's very good for you guys to keep the protein high, because because of this calorie deficit that you most likely in. Okay. So again, it all comes down to the nature of the sport, what you do. But it's really important that you know things that you're using in your sport. So yeah, as a tennis player, you need to know that, man, carbohydrates are your main energy source, you know. And then those that practice longer distance and lower intensity sports but long durations, you need to know that you probably rely more on fat than on carbohydrates, and therefore nutrition should be done that way as well.
Thank you for the response.
Mhm.
I would like to talk as well about fasting. No, I have been doing fasting for more than 4 years, and my mother also did it. I started doing it for health purposes, and my mother, she started doing it because she wanted to lose weight, and it actually worked. No, so I think that some people believe that it's impossible, no, because it's too many hours, you cannot do it. And I would like to talk about this because I think it's very important. Imagine I eat breakfast at 7 a.m. and I eat dinner the day before at 9 p.m. There are 10 hours in between my last dinner and my next breakfast. So a person, that never done intermittent fasting, should be like, yes, but if I wanna eat breakfast after, so I get to those 12 hours in between dinner and breakfast, uh, it's gonna be hard, for me. I'm not used to this, I'm gonna be hungry after. I think it's important you go step by step. Imagine you have only 9 hours and you're gonna go to 14. Just have a step in between. Go to 12 hours first and then get used to that and then go to 14. Because like this you are getting used, your body's getting used to the new aspect, and you can start going this way. I would like to know your opinion about fasting.
Okay, fasting, man, as you said, is done by many people now, but people confuse it because they think it's um it's a very effective way to lose weight. Okay. And it can do it, but it's not necessarily by nature helps with weight loss. Why? Because I've seen people that do fasting. Okay, as you said, they maybe don't have breakfast, they go train, that's fine, whatever. But when you come back home, they eat like a freaking pig. Okay? What happens is that what you haven't consumed in breakfast, you are consuming it later. So at the end of the day, you're still consuming the same amount of calories, so you're gonna still be in the same weight. Okay, and they get frustrated. They're like, "Oh my God, I've been freaking starving myself for 10 hours, 14 hours, and I don't lose any weight." Whoa, guess what, my man? You've been eating the same amount of calories. It's just in a shorter period of time, but you freaking eat like a pig. So if you do fasting, you need to understand that like what you're doing is pretty much not consuming calories because you are not eating breakfast. Okay. But if you want that to work, then if you want to use that calorie deficit that you're creating by not eating, then you need to keep the other meals the same way. Otherwise, there is no calorie deficit, right? If you add more calories later, right, with an extra meal. So this is how it helps with weight loss. It's literally just consuming less calories. Okay. Now, um, as you said, do I recommend this to everyone? It depends. For me, it doesn't work because when I've like sometimes like I need to wait to eat breakfast in the morning after I wake up. But after 1.5 hours, 2 hours, I'm really hungry. So if I were to wait till like 1 p.m. to start having my first meal, I'll freaking pass out. I don't know what I would do, but like I will have to be on the couch, like laying down like that, like just saving energy as much as possible. Okay. So it doesn't work for me. And I've tried to work out before on an empty stomach. I've tried to play tennis before on an empty stomach, and like my performance is like drops completely. So I'm actually not getting the best out of that. So if I were to like go to the gym, why would I go on an empty stomach, if like I do shitty sets? Like I have to reduce my load by like 30%. I need to reduce my number of reps. And so it doesn't work. For some people, as you're saying, that works for you, it works really well. You feel lighter, you feel even more energized sometimes. So it would all depend on the person. Okay. Now, as you said, from a health standpoint, it's really interesting because it gives some time for the body to kind of like reorganize itself. Okay, this is a term. This is a little bit going too deep, but it's called autophagy, which is pretty much like, you know how our cells die and regenerate. Okay, they recycle, but they kill themselves. Our cells in our body, when they feel like, oh shoot, I'm not functioning well, in the body we have this system that we kill cells that are not functioning well, but we recycle them later. So when you do fasting, this is what it does. It's a way to like, okay, distract the body from digesting and, breaking down food, and you can focus now on recycling stuff that is not working well. You see? This is one of the main benefits of fasting. But again, from a health standpoint, really cool. From a body composition standpoint, losing weight or gaining weight, it's gonna be up to you. It can help if you do it well. But if when you go back home after fasting for 14 hours and you eat like a pig, it's not gonna work. You're still gonna be on the same amount of weight.
Interesting, because there are so many diets today. You can be vegan, you can be vegetarian, you can do keto diets, you can do fasting. No, and at the end, you are saying all the time that it depends on the amount of calories and it depends on the amount of nutrients. No, so no matter if you do keto diet, vegetarian, vegan, you have to look about what is important for your health to be working properly. Doesn't matter if you do one or the other, as long as you are doing it right. So before you start doing a crazy diet, make sure you understand what is wrong, what can be the benefits, what can be the negative sides as well. To me, when I was younger, I started trying different things because I like to try different things, and then I started realizing there were things that were wrong, and I was not feeling right. Then I was feeling better, and I've been trying and learning, and again, it really depends on the moment you are in your life and what you do, but pay attention, not just go straight try something, and make sure you understand things in order to start uh, trying something specific.
Correct. I mean, that's one of the main problems is that, right? Like people start dieting and with diets is restrictions. And when it comes to restrictions, you're restricting nutrients. That's the problem, right? Many people go vegan just because they heard that it's good for you. And they start, being deficient in many nutrients that are necessary, right? Sometimes even protein, as simple as protein. Some vegans, they actually don't know now protein sources if they don't consume meat or eggs, and they are deficient in protein, and that's bad for you. Same thing with vitamin B12, with zinc, with iron, a bunch of different nutrients that if you're not aware of them and you don't know their replacements, you're actually not doing yourself any good. You're probably in worse health now than you were before, you see? So yeah, as you said, very important to have knowledge about what you're gonna do and the things that are gonna be affected.
Okay, Alejandro, thanks so much for the answers. We got today a bit more into detail, and I understand more what's a healthier nutrition, what should I do, what shouldn't I do, and I think this is the most important because once I know what I have to do and what I don't have to do, I can start looking for the nutrition level, looking for the amount of calories, trying to keep trying things that I don't like, so I can find a better diet. And that this doesn't have to happen in 1 week or in 1 month. Maybe you find in 3 months, and then in 6 months you try something else, and then like this you keep understanding and getting better at this, and you are finding your own, again, your own nutrition and your own way of eating.
Correct. As long as you're following the basics, right? What we talked about today, you're fine. Just, choose what you like, adhere to it forever, and you'll be healthy. You'll have a healthy lifestyle. Thank you, Miguel, for your time. Appreciate you.
You keep it simple and enjoy it. Keep it simple and enjoy it.
Thank you, man.
All right, Alejandro. A
See you.
pleasure again.
Mhm.